Okay, there we go. We'll let Nathan M connect to some audio.
The other one's gone, but I will bring them in as they come in.
Okay, sounds good. That's good to know. Okay, thank you for joining us. I will start by introducing our wonderful speaker. So our next speaker in the coaches series is Coach Fabienne Blizzard. Currently, Coach Fab is the head coach for the Capital Courts competing in the OSBA. Prior to entering the coaching ranks, Fab was a standout for the University of Ottawa. Over her career, she was awarded with Rookie of the Year, OUA MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year honors. Coach Blizzard has coached at the Ontario basketball, specifically within the targeted athlete program, as well as both the U15 and U17 Team Ontario programs from 2014 to 2016, winning 3 national titles. I wanted to say that really slow, let it sink in, because that's awesome. On top of her as the bench boss for Capital Courts, Fab works on in development for local club programs, and she lends a lot of her time to working with the national team program, serving as the assistant coach for the cadet women's team since 2018. Recently, she has served as the assistant coach in the CEBL for the Ottawa Blackjacks, making her the only woman currently coaching professional sports in the nation's capital. Fabienne is an advocate for development, community, and women in sports, and we're thrilled to have her presenting this evening. So, Coach, I'll hand it over to you. I'll let you decide if you kind of want questions to pop up as you go or if you want to save them till the end. But for now, I'll hand it over to you.
Yep, no problem. Thank you so much for that. And one of the things I want to do is I do want this to be very interactive, because not only are, like some of you are probably curious about the defensive principles and what I use, but I find that the more all of us share, because I don't think we have enough of these forums where we can share ideas and where we can actually start talking shop a little bit more. So so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I do have some videos that, from examples I want to show, and I'll show that. I do use FIBA Europe, that actually it's a free app, so it's great. If people want to see it and share it, it's something that's really good that we can get everyone to share. Sorry, my printer is beside me and it's going crazy.
Like, that's a busy area right now. Wow.
I'm turning it off because it's driving me crazy. There we go. Yeah, it's not happy with me right now. It says, what do you mean canceling? All right. So what I'm going to do is I do want to do introductions before I go right into anything. I want to know, who you are, because I'm at a disadvantage. So who you are, what age group are you coaching, and then what are your pain points on defense, because we're going to be talking defensive principles, defensive strategy, and I'd like to also hear about your philosophy. So anyone could get started, or I can pick someone.
Anybody want to go? Should we let
What about you,
Omar?
Seth? Like, what if we get started with Seth?
Oh,
Jean,
go ahead.
Go for it.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Good evening. I'm Coach Jean. I coach girls U14 team for Vaughan Panthers.
Perfect.
So first of all, thanks for having this today and the other sessions as well. That's just a little bit about me. I'm just here to be a sponge and soak up as many new tidbits as possible, to be honest with you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heather LaFontaine. I'm Corey's mom. And I coach up at Durham College right now. And philosophically, defensively, I want to put as much pressure on people as I can. And I also love to run multiple defenses. So it depends on the team that we have, what we can do, but we do like to run a lot of multiple defenses so that you don't know what you're looking at. But again, lots of pressure is usually what we like to do.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else want to go? Yes, there we go.
Hey, my name is Seth. I'm I was actually scheduled to be the dual prep coach here in Kingston, Ontario. I just had my first child, so the schedule is too busy. But I'm trying to keep active in coaching, coming to these kind of clinics as much as possible. And for me, defensively, I think it all starts, I mean, I'm definitely team defense principles, but I think it all starts with that one-on-one, like just don't get beat. Don't give up the first 2 steps and working from there.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you. Jana, Omar, anyone wants to?
Oh man, all right.
That's all right. It's okay. So whenever you want to jump in, please don't hesitate to do so. Maybe sound problems or anything like that. I'm good with that. Jean, did you have a?
Yeah, I mean, since everyone's sort of giving their philosophy, I guess for me, at this age group, I am, although it happens quite a bit in the like U13, U14, I am not a fan of zone defenses. I'm a huge proponent of teaching a player how to play person-to-person defense. So any tidbits I can pick up on that, or teaching points, additional teaching points is sort of what I'd like to get out of this. But again, that's just my philosophy. So I've always liked to hear everybody else's philosophy.
No, that's great. That's good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen, and anytime you wanna chime in, because you are going to be involved in the discussion, please jump in. Let me just do that right now. Just gonna share my whole screen because I'm gonna share some videos as well. Just gonna share this, make sure you guys can see. All right. So basically, one of the key things that we want to do is talking about one-on-one defense as we talked about, and looking at it too versus team defense. One of the key things that we do, and especially when I look at the different teams that I've had, because I've had a chance to coach boys and girls for the Wolverines in Ottawa for 5 years each, and it was back to back. It was so much fun to do, where I'd actually have the girls at the 6 o'clock slot and the boys on the 8 o'clock slot. And I saw it's a huge difference, you know. So one of the key things, you know, when we talk about philosophy, my philosophy is, you know, it is to be disruptive, you know, as much as possible. And I believe in man-to-man pressure, and teaching those fundamentals, teaching those fundamentals from the beginning, before you get into any other defenses. So one of the things that I look at is disruption, communication, effort. Those are the 3 big ones we want, because defense is all effort. If we always say, you know, effort beats talent any day. And I see it on a regular basis, where, you know, I look at some of the athletes that are pure effort. Someone that's a perfect example that people know from the Team Ontario days and is playing at UConn is Aaliyah Edwards. When I first met her and she came into our sessions, she was U14, she was pure effort. And and we had girls that were very talented, super skilled, but she's the one that shined, because she just hustles so much, and and she loved defense. So it's hard to make people love defense. It's just, you have to get into what are going to be some of the rewards that they get out of that. So that's why at practice, I'm sure all of you as coaches probably have little prizes or activities or things that you can do depending on your age group. It works with the men. With CEBL, we actually had, you know, if they're getting so many paint touches, we're basically going to play shooting competition, which they love. So we had shooting competitions coming out because of the number of paint touches we're able to get a practice that transferred into games. So there's different areas that we can get into where you teach people how to be as passionate as you are about defense. And that's instead of the whole scoring piece, because every one of them want to shoot the ball now, because that's all we're seeing on TV. So from a philosophy perspective, I think we're pretty much on the same page in terms of, pressure defense, being able to teach that first. And now it's the communication piece, which a lot of you probably see with girls or women, where the communication is not always there, especially with the younger group as they get up there. You really want to start teaching how do we communicate and support each other, because girls and women are very cerebral. So we're overthinking the game. So, and we want to do everything perfectly. So that is one of the things that when we see that transition where we can allow them to talk to each other a lot more on the court, because they do a great job off the court, we really want to be able to push that as much as possible. What I wanted to understand from your standpoint, what are some of your pain points? What have you seen, even if it's not your current team, but what are you seeing as something that has been regular issues when you're trying to coach defense or teach it? Go ahead, Jean.
Communication in general, like just speaking, if there's like a screen being about to be set on them, and also help defense. Find help defense is they'll just see another person go right past them, and they don't look to step in or anything like that. So those are the two things that I kind of have seen this year for my team.
Okay, excellent. I'm curious from Durham College, how do you find that your group? Because I know it's an older age group. How do you find them? Because I know I used to do Algonquin back in the days.
Right. I think my biggest frustration with the players especially when they first come in, is their lack of fundamentals, and that spills over whether we're talking about offense or defense. But and I've been horrified sometimes to have to teach ball man, like those principles, which you would think by the time they would get up and be playing college. I mean, after all, they are playing college basketball, so they've played a lot of basketball in order to be able to play at that level. So I've always been frustrated by the fact that, and not all obviously, but so many of them are so lacking in their defensive fundamentals. Boxing out, like, what's that?
Yep. I like that. Yes. So I think we're all experiencing the same ones. I would say this summer, even from a professional level, most of my clips for player development with the guys, some of them were boxing out, believe it or not. So we'll see it at all levels. But especially, as you mentioned, at the high school level and the college level, we're seeing it more and more. It seems like, it really has to be that point of emphasis in your practices and your games in terms of getting that out of them. And it's unfortunate. One of the key things I do use, because I do have a lot of talented athletes, is if we're missing box outs, especially because they want to come on the floor because we're doing half court or scrimmage, and that will be what takes them up. That's what gives them a sub. And that's how they sub each other out, is because there's a missed box out. So they will also point it out. So it kind of gets you in terms of accountability as well. But it is I think it's probably one of the biggest ones right now that I'm seeing. And if you can go one and done, this is the ideal for all of us. So I'm going to shift over to my next slide before I go into a video. We talked about one-on-one defense, full versus half court. I tend to go full court. Again, if I take a step back with what we're doing here, it's really making sure you understand the personnel that you have. Because if you want to, and I know I had to make changes depending on the teams that I've had. If you're going full court, you have your age group that you'd have to consider. You have your athleticism that you're also thinking about, and and understanding the league that you're in and the opponent you will play. So as a coach, as you go through your plan, is understanding what your personnel is, and then how you are actually going to break things down from 1-on-1 to 2-on-2 to 3-on-3 and so on. So those are some of the things that is really important as you start putting your plans together, is understanding who your athletes are and how do you transition them into the defensive principles that you're looking for. So in here, when I look at 1-on-1 this year, when I look at my athlete this year versus the year before, I had to take a step back. Just as you mentioned, I was ready, full court, 1-on-1, half court rotations. And suddenly I noticed that a lot of my girls, even ball man, 1 pass away, 2 passes away, a lot of these things were really foreign to them. And I also had to consider, we went through a 1.5 years of COVID where everyone just worked on skills. So there is no team defense whatsoever for them. And even 1-on-1 was not being played as much. So we're a little bit behind in that sense. One thing I really enjoy is that Center of Performance, which is part of Ontario Basketball, was also another venue that a lot of our young ladies, as they come through from a U10, U12, they went through for us in Ottawa every Sunday. We were doing clinics, and that meant that we were introducing them to these things early. But for 1.5 years to 2 years, we never got to do that. So the young girls that I'm getting right now have not done any defense. So basically I had to start from the beginning with young girls that are now 15 to 17. So that basically kind of correspond with what was just said earlier. And this is where now we have to break things down, and we have to start from the beginning. And everything, you start even from footwork perspective. So speed training, A, B's, and C's, stance. A lot of our young athletes have been sitting all day, throughout COVID. So it's stretching, rolling, hip flexors, glutes, squatting technique. All of these things had to be introduced this year. And it's funny just to think about the fact that we're about to teach defense, but we have to prepare their bodies again, because they haven't done this. Because I remember one of our young ladies hyperextended her hip flexor, and we had to realize that she's sitting all day. You just went from a class that you're now sitting in front of your computer for at least 4 hours. And now you're standing up to go to, gym time that just opened up. So there was a lot of things we had to go back and work on. Being active with your hands was another piece, so we're looking at our hands being up here, when they're holding the ball. As soon as they put the ball down, we're now going into hand pressure, we call it. So your dig hand versus with the pass hand as well. So there's a few things that you're starting to break things down, from footwork to defensive position to stance, and now your hands. And once you've done all of that, and I'm sure you guys can relate, because I know I went, for me, it was very old school, see man and ball, peripheral vision, get your hand out, look at your pinky on the side so you can see both. Now people are literally turning their heads to watch, and we're trying to teach them how to use the peripheral vision, which is very, very different from the way I've learned it compared to what we're seeing today, and trying to get them to understand how do you see both without moving your head. So those are all, so what I do with the younger groups, I play games with that. So basically, especially during COVID, we had young ladies have, I said, if you have a pet or you have a sibling, have your sibling move from different spot, but just stay in position and just try to move to be able to still see them from the side. If you're in the gym, turn it into games in terms of being able to move as the ball is being moved without moving your head, and being able to still point and see where your mans are. So I know those are very basic things, but yeah, I'm sure some of you are not surprised to see at the higher level, we're now turning our heads and we're not using peripheral vision, even at the level that I coached us this summer with the men. That's how we got beat. And most of us, when we teach, it's like, hey, if the help defense turns their head, drive. And that's the way I was taught too in university. As soon as that second line of defense turned their heads, that was my green light to just, I know I could beat my man. They don't know what I'm going to do, but the help defense has now turned their heads. I'm able to drive to the key. So there's so many things that we're looking to teach in the one-on-one piece versus the team piece that has that we had to take time to do it. Being in an academy, I have every day that I can do that, and I have morning sessions that I can also do some development on one-on-one, and that helps us. But I do understand with coaches that will have 2 or 3 days, and even now finding gyms, it's a lot harder to do. So it's us being creative now. What can they do at home? Work on your peripheral vision by, don't look at your mom opening the fridge, but try to see if you could do it from inside and say, oh, mom is opening the fridge. Dad just walked by. Different ways for them to use their peripheral vision. So those are kind of the little things one-on-one that when we're looking at things that we want to do off the court, especially if you have 2 or 3 days that you have maybe an hour and a half that you can bring them in, you're able to find ways for them to have homework at home. And then we're going to take a look at team defense, where we are starting to look at closeout, boxing out, which closeout, I'm sure a lot of us are running into the stutter step. I've removed the stutter step. I'm sure it's probably something that, some people believe in it, and we'll talk about that. And some people, I believe in your last 2 step is a gap to get closer. And from there, we're able to get with our hands up to discourage that. As soon as we stutter step, if I saw that when I was as a player, I drove right by you, because I know that you're not under control at this point if you're on your toes. So it's just different things like that we can talk about. What is your philosophy on closeout? How are we teaching boxing out? How do we include that as part of different drills or point systems within your practices? Those are all interesting, because you're starting to make them more competitive, and now your point of emphasis throughout the practice is now on the closeouts and the box out. Going into our full team, we're looking at bottom of the eye, top of the eye, type of rotation, stunt, and peel, and we'll have I'll be able to show you some graphics as we get into that. We go from post help versus stay home. So that means that if you are not very concerned about the posts on the opposite team, in high school, it's very different. You're going to have most of the bigs don't get the ball very often, unfortunately. So we can get away with helping off the post and having someone rotate down. So your top of the eye will rotate down on the post. But when you have a very dominant post and they know how to circle, that's when you run into problems. So that's where you're looking at, we're going to stay home on the post so we can cover the circling, and we're going to make sure we're helping from the corner. So that means help side. So being bottom of the eye is identifying who's your bottom of the eye if it's not your post that is opposite block. So those types of situation is what we want to talk about. And one of the big ones that we're seeing a lot more, and I'm sure as coaches you're seeing that, your middle attack. Because the middle attack is very effective right now for many teams, especially you're seeing a lot of teams running dribble drive, where we are now opening our hips, and it's the red carpet treatment because you don't want to foul them or bump them, and now they're able to turn the corner on you. So those are the types of things where we're understanding that there's different strategies depending on the teams that you're playing against. And if we have a chance, we'll touch on transition defense, where you have your short and long safety. It's really understanding as we get into short and long safety, what does that look like? Who are the people that should be going into long safety? Who's going into short safety? Especially if the team has flattened up. A lot of times those are the types of things with your athletes that they're like, well, I didn't think it was me. I thought it was because I'm on this side. So when you start assigning, it gets a little tricky at that time. Any question on some of the core principle before I jump into some video. Okay, so let me jump in and hopefully it will show up well here. I'm gonna use some of the games, recent games that we've had. I'm using the Synergy video. And I'm gonna go right into Crutter's game. Okay, so as we're looking at that, I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so right now we're looking at man-to-man defense. So on the man-to-man defense, you saw, so they did a switch right off the screen. Okay, so we're gonna look at this one again. I'm just gonna slow it down here for you, sorry. Okay. So notice they just switched off the screen because you're going guard to guard. And it's one of our principal guard to guard switch. And they're basically just switching right off that. And then I just want to take your attention into here. Okay, I'm just going to back it up a little bit and you'll see. So as we back it up here, so you'll notice that defensively, as that player attacks, they're coming towards the defense here. So you had your bottom of the eye, that's right here right now, but then you'll see this number 30 is basically doing a ghost cut because none of the defenders are seeing her. Okay, so bottom of the eye should be ready for that, but right now we got the person stunting. We got number 8 that's basically turning her attention towards the ball. Her man is also going to head to the corner. Okay, so she stopped herself here thinking that this player was also getting the ball. Okay, so she got herself in trouble because she stopped herself here instead of following her man to the corner. So this is one of the areas that we have that we're often telling our athletes, as you're moving towards the ball, and we always tell them, especially younger athletes, it's getting hotter. So she basically has to be with her man. She's stopping here thinking that this post player is going to get the ball instead of following her man because now she's on the side of the ball. On the side of the ball, she has to continue. And this is one of our principles, side of the ball. We never help on the side of the ball. We only stunt. And right now that gives this player a chance to play that big because she's bottom of the eye and she's top of the eye. Does that make sense to everyone, what we're talking about? Top of the eye here, bottom of the eye. And now number 8 is late in this recovery because she should have followed her because the ball, her man is going to the side of the ball. All right, I'll let it play through. And don't hesitate if you have a question and something that you want to clarify in there. Okay, so watching the next clip. So we're picking up full court. Again, slowing things down a little bit. Okay, so as I stop, I'm stopping the play here. So we got the initial step here as she's going. I'm just going to put it back on the side that she was so we can see. So bottom of the eye should be here, but notice again, her eyes are looking here. She's not standing in her bottom of the eye, as we all remember, point the guns we were talking about, and then being available right here in the key. Okay, so she has her man in the corner. She should be available here. So that's the bottom of the eye. Top of the eye is here on the rotation because she would rotate down. So right now she is going to get a screen from the big. Fighting through this. So this is where we talked about circling, and I'm just going to go back in that again, just so we can kind of see. And if the video is not showing up properly, let me know, because I know sometimes it could be a little funny. Okay, so as she's using this screen, you'll notice that number 13 is helping off that. She should not be helping. So, because the ball is coming towards her. The help should be coming from this person here. That's what I'm applying. This is how I teach it. And basically, help as the ball is going away from you, you're the person that's helping off this one. So she would start to move as the ball is moving away from her. So if this person needs to peel, she would drop here. Does everyone see that? So the help should come directly from number 4. She needs to stay home, because right now you'll see that this person will ghost cut because she lost track of her. And this one would peel to take the shooter in the corner. Take a quick look at that. Okay, so we have 2 people chasing right now, the same player. And no one saw the ghost cut. She ended up cutting because she saw the back of her head. So those are the defensive pieces that they've missed here. And that's one of the things that we focused on after this game as well. It's understanding and trusting that 4 is gonna have to make that. She gets caught in this one right now, calling that help early. She will have to peel to get to that block because that will be her box out. And she will stay with the big, because look at if she decided to send that ball to number 22, she would be wide open on that roll as well. Okay, moving on to the next clip. So this one shows us just a little bit of that transition that we were talking about. So right now you'll notice that she was the first one back as long safety, and we have short safety coming in. Okay, so that happened pretty quickly. So as she got ready, she saw that the outlet happened. She's the first one because she was at the top of the key and running back for long safety. So she's protecting rim. So now we have the next player that's coming in for short. Okay, so with the long safety, she was able to take care of it, and everyone running back on defense allowed this to happen. Again, as you see here, that just stopped it very quickly after the shot. So we're seeing right now, long safety, she's gone. Okay, so that's the long safety here. She will be our short safety. Those are the 2 people closest at the top. So those are the responsibilities that they have. And then these, you'll notice that these three are not involved in that, but they have to sprint. So that's my long safety. This is my short safety. So one quick thing I want to mention here, and you'll notice that one of our principle as well is that, and I know it's harder in the younger age, and it took a while for our team to do that as well, because I have 11 new girls that spent a couple years, the 2 years of COVID, just working on skills. But you'll notice the first thing that we do is we pick up whoever is in your area. So that's an automatic. I turn around, I stop the ball. And now I'm finding different matchup, not necessarily the person you were defending. Because as from a long safety perspective, that person probably has the rim runner. And then we're covering the lanes closest. And then we cover the help side, bottom of the eye. Okay, so as you look at that one more time, the team was able to get to neutralize. Let me just go back here. Where's it? Okay, Let me just stop it right here before I go into the next videos. So as we're looking, what we just took a look at, we took a look at the bottom and top of the eye rotation, because those are the two principles that we teach. And as you know, from just teaching those principles, is basically, most of us are very familiar with 3-on-2+1. So just going into understanding those principles, and I know this year when I started with 3-on-2, it was painful, because that rotation was never taught. They weren't communicating. They were both going towards the ball. There was none of that understanding that, you know, I have ball, the ball was skipped, I take bottom of the eye, it's coming out, and the top of the eye rotation. And it took, I would say, a few weeks to really get in that understanding and trusting that I'm going to make that rotation, and the third person being added to get into that, getting added and being able to take away the additional player. From your perspective, before I continue, I just want to understand, how does that work for you in terms of teaching your principles on team defense? Like how was that this year? Because I know all of us went through the COVID period.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment, just in terms of the ability to trust a teammate. And one thing I also notice is reading when they need to help. I find sometimes they either overhelp or they don't commit to the help, right? So and just trying to teach that balance, right? Of when they're actually not, their help is not needed, right? That's one of the trickier things we've come across a few times.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And I think, and I'm seeing it a lot, like we had the high school boys this year. And the beauty about it is that a lot of the boys some of them are not experienced basketball players, but they committed to defense. It was wonderful. I was so excited about that group. They're grade 9, 10s. And I started working, we started working with them, and I told them, I said, defense is basically effort. I said, you will win every game. The first game they lost was today. So they suffered their first loss, and I think it was the first time that they realized that there's a team as good as they were on defense was able to stop them as well. And it was great to see them commit to defense and starting to communicate, because the first practice they weren't. And then as they went on, as you mentioned, they started to communicate a little bit better and trusting each other. Because, and I know the high school season was very, very quick, but to see them really trust each other and loving defense, because that's where they got the most, they were able to score from, because they were able to play defense, help, and steal the ball and score layups. And I think that's why they committed so well to playing defense. So with the girls, I find that process takes a little bit longer, because they don't want to make a mistake. And I think that's where we see the hesitation, as you mentioned, in communication, because they will not, because they're scared of moving, of making a mistake, they will hesitate to go help right away. And as you mentioned too, sometimes it's two of them, because we just talked about it, and now two of them are going to help. And you just saw that just happened with the two young ladies, where one of them thought I got through the screen, I don't need help, and I don't want to switch. But the other one ended up switching off that, which opened up two different people. They could have at least hit the roller, or the person that made that backdoor cut on the first one that was on the side of the ball. So those are two areas. From a one-on-one perspective, and I know I don't have a video specifically on one-on-one, one of the key areas that we tend to focus on for us, and I have so many different drills that we do. At the younger age, it's a lot of like the shadow. Everyone has done that, where they shadow each other, start on the baseline, moving forward, back, side, different ways where the other person has to do exactly what they're doing by keeping a gap. Eventually, what I've moved on to as well, and it's I like this one because it does work on stance, is we get into the full court the same concept as zigzagging, identify what the lane is, the corridors are, and they will basically be in stance, but they will have the ball on the ground and roll it, but using their wrists side to side, moving the ball and gapping all the way as they get into the sideline. They now basically would open hip and cross over to the other side. So they will zigzag all the way through with the ball on the ground, shoulders are back and gapping as they go through. Once they're done that one, after they do the two sides, they're feeling it a little bit. And what I tend to do with that is now you have a person that I don't put a ball in their hands yet, but I said now that person is going to do little runs from sideline, from in the lane, from one side to the other, and hockey stopped, change direction, and that person will just basically slap their knees just to make sure that they have active hands. Eventually I add the ball where they're under control, and that person goes in to ensure that they have their dig hand and the pass hand. And this is what it kind of looks like a little bit. And I'll show you, it's just a picture that shows you dig hand, pass hand. In my university days, I swear that I would score 10 points just on stealing the ball with my dig hand, because everyone wants to cross over in front of you. And I'm sure you see it with some of your athletes where, if you put your dig hand out and someone is crossing over, and I've seen that at the highest level as well, it basically gets stuck in their hands. Because people get very confident and with the ball, and they start dribbling in front of each other. So, and the pass hand is because we're seeing a lot of athletes and especially at the younger age too, where we're now trying to pass with one hand, and that's why that one hand is there, because we're trying to make that one hand pass. So those different ways of us being able to use dig hand, pass hand, and able to get some easy disruption from the beginning is exactly what we want to be able to teach from the beginning. And especially when you do some of those activities where it's just the ball side to side, get from zigzag all the way down, same thing back, and you're getting your whole group doing this. Now run, that person hockey stop every time, no ball, but every time you're basically making sure active hands by little taps on the knees as they're going through. So that means that they're low, because you'll notice some people, their hands will tap higher. That means they're too high. So we're always kind of measuring distance in that way. And then you're starting to add the ball, and you do your typical one-on-one zigzag. We've actually added full court one-on-one, where you start on the baseline, that person could go anywhere. And you're basically trying to explain to them why it's important for you to be able to understand speed and how much you want to gap to be able to ensure that you get down the floor and that person's not beating you right off the first one or two dribbles. So one of the things we do too is we teach turning the hips, crossover step to get position, because no one is going to play full court in stance. So those are the kind of things where you're throwing in different challenges. They love that one. That's one of their favorite one, because they're always asking, are we going to do that one again? Because they have little challenges. And I match speed. I purposely match the speed, and some of the people that can actually challenge each other, especially when you have big girls and they need to go against a little guard. There's no advantage there. So you really try to match it up and try to see how many of your girls are able to handle that type of pressure. Or is able to apply that type of pressure.
I don't know if Jean had your hand up. I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
Oh, Jean, go for it.
I had my hand up, and then you showed this graphic. I was just trying to actually, because this sounds really great. I was just trying to understand the rolling of the ball. So I was trying to visualize that to understand exactly what you meant by that. And so this is great, but I'm still trying to understand the rolling of the ball.
Yeah, so what I'm wondering if you can, let me see if I can, let me stop sharing for a sec, because I want to see if you can see me.
I can see you.
Okay, I could. So basically, let me see. So if I'm in my stance here, okay, notice my hands are gonna go down. Let's see for my video. So my hands will go down here, okay? So you'll see that I'm doing this with my hands because I have the ball here, but I'm gapping all the way down. And I'm basically, what the girls tend to do is they roll the ball. And I said, you can't do that. It's gotta go side to side with the wrists. So fingertip control, wrist control. And now whenever I get at that line, like we zigzag, now I open. And I'm basically rolling the ball, but it has to hit both hands. It's not as easy as just, I grab the ball and I'm rolling it all the way to that sideline, rolling it all the way, like you gotta go side to side. It works wrist control because I'm doing this. So when you think about shooting, wrist control, fingertip control, because now I'm getting sensation, and they have to stay in stance. You'll notice their back is gonna start doing this instead of standing here and going all the way down. And now they're open, boom, all the way down with the ball. So it's a really,
And you would do that, sorry, you would do that with just them doing it solo, or you do it with another player, like mirroring?
Solo.
Okay,
So
that's what I wanted to understand. Okay,
yeah,
thank
so
you.
they all go solo. And then once they go, you go back to that exercise, but now they have someone, they have a partner, but they don't have a ball. So all they're doing is getting their knees, she's coming back. They're hitting their knees all the way through, just like you would do a zigzag, but they don't have a ball because you don't want the focus to be on her beating her or beating him. So it's so that's why we tend to take the ball away, so we can make the focus on, you work on your footwork, hockey stop, explode to get to the other side, little jogs in between, not full sprint, because you really want that person to focus on their stance and able to get active hands. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much for the demo.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so let me share something which I told you this is part, I'm gonna share it off the screen here. Share my screen again. So let me see if you can see, let me know if you can see this.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right, so this goes back to what I was talking to you before. Let me move this a little bit so I could see my screen. There we go. Okay, so this is called, I use this this coaching FIBA app, and it's free. So I love this one because I share, and what I do, because I shared it with my team, I shared it with my coach, so you can share plays with them. So it does have so as soon as I do them, I could share it with whoever has one. If you have an ID in the tool, I'm able to share that with you.
Any chance you can zoom in, Coach, if you're gonna like talk about one of the?
Yeah, let me see if I can. Oops.
You might have to use your browser zoom in, like
yeah, with
way. Oh, that
yeah,
works.
with this, yeah, with this one you have to actually get into it. It's funny that way because it shows you all the plays. There we go.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Perfect, no problem. All right, so if you remember what we were talking about before, so as you're looking at this, right now 2 has the ball, 2 is attacking the rim. So as 2 is attacking the rim, you can see I can move these around. As they attack the rim, my bottom of the eye, because this group is playing 5 out, this is pretty simple. We can see 4 is going to be the bottom of the eye, and 5 over here, my 5 defense is the top of the eye. So on that rotation, we have this person helping before they come out of this key. This one should only stunt. That's the one big thing here, especially because most teams now are putting little shooters here. So every team we play in our group, because it's a very competitive league, can shoot the ball. So it's always just stunt. But as we all know, our players want to help. on the side of the ball. So this is one of the things that is just keeping them honest, where you could stunt to disrupt, but you want to be able to not stunt in here. The last thing you want to do is get in here. You were just stunting to slow them down and get back to your man. This person will rotate. If this person gets beat now, the big thing for this person, because this person is rotating down. This person rotates down. This person's coming through. This person now has to peel. This is what we call peel. I always make them peel closest to the ball. And now this person is guarding, is basically rotating. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? I've tried different things over the years. This one has probably been the best for what we need to do, and understanding that I got beat. I'm peeling to the closest, because most people want to make this pass, mainly this one if they can, but they will try to make that a cross pass. They don't necessarily go back. So having them rotate in this way, now we have people that are coming into the passing lanes. Okay. I'm actually going to minimize this so I can see this. All right. So let me close this image. So that gives us an idea again. So what I want to make sure we do as well is, as I demonstrated the rotation in here, and I want to show you now what happens if we are going to attack middle. So let me open this one. So on the attack middle, this is where there's different ways of looking at it, and it's very much related to strategy. So as I'm looking at this right now, I'm attacking middle. We always have the person playing the nail. So you're stunting again on this side because the ball is coming towards you. And this is the example that we saw earlier. So that person's coming towards you. You're attacking, they're attacking this elbow. This person should be shifting and taking the ball, attacking middle. And now this person is peeling to take 3, and 3 defender is looking to play here. 5 should not be coming up. This is one of the mistakes that happens. Okay, so because as that 5 comes up, this person is just stunting. Now we're hoping this person, which shouldn't be helping here, because as the ball is getting closer, she's taking care of the corner shooter as well. So that's why we don't want that help on the side of the ball. She's attacking. 3 is moving as she starts attacking. If this person is getting beat, she's able to peel to get into that. This one is, it's something that we've been harping on quite a bit. One of the things you will see at times is if we are going to help, it's normally not going to happen from the 5, but it will happen from the 4. So that is going to be a strategy. I did run that from a strategy perspective for one of the shooting teams that had great corner shooters, and they also had great athletic athletes that just drove through the key and able to finish, have different counters and different English on their ball. They were amazing at doing that. So what we would have to do is that, yes, we had that help coming through. Now we had that rotation. And normally what we used to get is a steal here all day, because we are anticipating that and we're able to help early. And that means that now that peel, you're switching your peel to get into this side of the ball. So it's really part of what we call, like, depending on your strategy and the teams that you're playing. Any questions on that? Okay. So no questions on that. I'm gonna move to another one of our quick videos just to make sure you can see. And again, one of the biggest pieces, and we just talked about that, one of the key things that I find that it's important, I believe in teaching man-to-man defense, the right way. So that means for my right way is bottom, top of the eye, rotation, peel, all of these all of this has to be taught, just the basic of it. The way I start is always going to be teaching the one-on-one and then moving into a 2-on-2, moving into 3-on-3, and being able to work through that. As I start teaching the bottom and top of the eye, I get into more of that 3-on-3, but I make sure that you have one-on-one on one side of the rim and the other side is your weak side. And that's what happens when they're attacking, and I make them attack baseline so we can understand where do we want them to rotate, how do we want them to rotate, and getting those rotations. So as we getting into the different ways of doing it is really us building from 1-on-1 to 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4 until we get into the 5-on-5 concepts. And that takes a bit of time. And that's why I liked CP back in the days with Ontario basketball, is that we would do a lot of 3-on-3. So that gave us a chance to work from 1-on-1 to 3-on-3. And that allows us to break it down. With what we have right now, it's just us being creative to see how can we catch them up so we can get those concepts in place. I had a chance to do that because we practice every day. But at the same time, what I was able to do, and that's what I'm going to show you, is I'm able to introduce different defenses. So I changed defenses in terms of our strategy because we are in a very competitive league and they're very good and the coaches are excellent. So every one of us are in strategy mode. So I will start a game where we are in a 1-2-2 full court and getting into take away the safety right away. And that means that that's on a make. On a miss, we're going to go full man-to-man defense. And we're looking at turning our man as much as possible. And we may have some run and jump action there. I'm not pushing that one as much because I know a lot of our girls are learning. So one of the key things that I keep is the concept of bottom and top of the eye still exists no matter what. Because if the ball is on one side of the floor and your man is on weak side, you're still in help. So where's that help line in the full court? So you're not glued to your man on the other side of the floor. So we really push that so they understand that piece. So even when I move into a 2-3, which I do as well, I can go full court man-to-man into a 2-3. I will be in that maybe for 2 or 3 series just to disrupt and change the flow of the game. And that same concept, bottom and top of the eye, that's exactly what we talked about today when we were reviewing the 2-3 zone, is what is your rotation if the bottom person has to come out and my middle person has to help. So that means we got to rotate down. So those concepts are still there. When you teach your men properly, they can play any defense. And as long as you're keeping those same concepts for them. So if you're looking at what we did with this one here, and you'll see what our half court press looks like. And I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so take a look at this again. So this is in the half court. So you'll see that the dribbler is coming into the 2 people that we have already set up. So that's basically, again, this is surprising them because they haven't seen it yet. And you'll notice that we have 3 people because she chose this side. This person is already trying to match up because there's no middle. There's no short middle for them to cover. The person's on the other side. So right now, the one thing that's happening, our player here should be over here because behind a trap, you always want to have that person protecting behind the trap. And now that this person here that you have on that side would rotate and help her out because she becomes the bottom of the eye, she becomes the top of the eye. So I still keep that concept here, but she needs to cover here. She already has that support if she does cover a little bit behind that. And you'll notice that again, you're making, the reason you're doing that is you're slowing them down, you're forcing them to get out of their regular offensive set, and now they're not getting what they typically want to get. Okay, so again, you see another series. So we rushed them the first time, and what happens is they want to get a pass in as fast as they can, and it goes out of bounds. Okay, so any questions on that? I know I threw in some one-on-one. We're talking about one-on-one, we're talking about man defense, and now we're suddenly into a 1-2-2 half court press. And that, again, with the younger age, I'm 110% in agreement. I don't think I ran any zones with the Wolverines. I think I had U10 all the way to U14. I didn't introduce them to any of that. It's because the Wolverine also didn't believe in zones for any of the tournament that we held in Ottawa. So we really focused on man-to-man until we were able to get them into the U15, where they were introduced into zones. But as long as they get a good foundation of man-to-man, then you're able to get into different types of defense or combination defenses, especially at the higher level. We heard Durham, which is true. You have to get very creative as you start taking away the other team's weaknesses. You have to pick at their weaknesses and being able to understand how you're going to disrupt them and where you get them the most uncomfortable. Any questions on that? I know it's 9:02 and I went a little bit longer than expected, but I want to hear from this group before, if there's anything that you heard that basically resonated, or there's other things. I can send you drills if you want drills. I can, all the things that I've been mentioning on how I do things, I could definitely send you that. I do have everything documented, even my practice plans with all of the diagrams, and I can send that your way if it's something that will help you.
I would like that, please.
Yes, I can do that. And I can send you the videos of the rolling of the ball. I can send that.
Yeah. I mean, your demo was great, but yes, please.
Excellent.
I think we have 2 weeks off and we still have gym time. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to maybe implement some new philosophies and new strategies going into the second stage of our season. So that would be great.
Okay. And I'll what I'll do for this group, if you guys do need some things, and I could send it over to I could send it over, and I don't know if you want to distribute those to Sala, to the team,
with
like
Corey.
to the group.
Yeah.
I could definitely, to Corey. Okay, I could send those to Corey, and I'll even send a practice plan related to the defensive piece. How I introduce the press, and because I do break that down. So they'll give you a few drills on that breakdown for anyone that's interested in introducing press, if you're ready for that. And then the man-to-man, I have a ton of different things there. So, but I welcome anything you want to share with me too, because I like to add to my toolbox, because everyone has a lot of great drills.
Christmas came early for the coaches, huh? Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, no, that would be really appreciated if you could share anything. And I know we're running short on time, but if you could add any of the stuff you were talking about, closeouts.
Oh, yes.
Closeouts, I'd be really interested in that.
Yeah, I'll send you, because I think that some of those are point systems during practice. I know for my practices, the kids love candy. So I
still love candy.
I know. And the winning team on closeouts or box outs, they basically, and I can't believe they didn't ask me today. They totally forgot because I have it at my desk, and because they just get to just put their fists in and grab as many, and the other team that lost doesn't get anything, but at least
Oh,
they get.
wow, that's evil.
But what they do, which I like, because it's girls, they actually share. So
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, that
it's
makes
really
up
sweet.
for it. Everyone gets candy.
Yeah, so I think anything we can use that will help. Today I used a communication drill where they had, and it's nice that we have masks because they're wearing a mask, but I put another mask on their eyes, and it's 4 per teams. And to force communication, what they had to do is guide, because everyone had a basket. They had to twirl the person. I put loud music so so we can put disruption. But they had to guide them to score a basket.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
it was very different, but it's more in terms of what does communication do if you're doing it well in terms of guiding your teammates to be able to be successful. So we just find different ways for them to get really creative. We do another one where we tell people when they come in, and it's good because you just had a full day's class, where they have to talk to each other at the top of their lung about something interesting they did today. So it's super loud and it's really them just going, how's your name? What do you do? And they're yelling it the top of their lungs, and we try to find the loudest person that was in the gym. But then we say, okay, how does that translate, guys? How do we want to be at practice? How loud do we want to be so we make sure we understand each other, hear each other? So there's so many things you can do to create the energy or the communication you want to see during practice. So I will stop there because I will come up with 1,000 more things to tell you. But thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it, and thank you for letting me know if I'm on track or not on track, but I will share as much as I can. And if you have personal questions that you want to ask, I'm okay for anyone to share my email, that you can use that and email me. I will send you more things.
Be
I have
careful
quite a
what
bit.
you wish for. I have to
Very
jump off,
true.
but
Yep.
I just wanted to
Have a
say
good
thank
one.
you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good one, everyone. Have a great holidays. Enjoy. Be safe.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. You too. Have good holidays.
You too.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you very
Merry
much.
Christmas.